My name is Don Ramsey. I'm from Catawba, Virginia. I've been very interested in this since I was probably 12 years old when I had my first UFO sighting.
Okay, let's start with Bigfoot. What got you interested in the whole cryptid community?
Well, I'm a big interested in Native American history. And if you look back in Native American history, Bigfoot has been recorded all the way through their time zones.
That's true. Did you read a book or something of that nature to get you started?
Oh, yes. I read books. I watch Finding Bigfoot. I watch all those shows. So I'm very interested in it. They actually done Finding Bigfoot, the show up here at Mountain Lake, which is about 45 minutes from my house.
Did they find Bigfoot there?
Well, they heard some noises and found some signs. So
Yeah, yeah, they're out everywhere. So what's your earliest memory of being introduced to Bigfoot?
probably when I was a kid, I was hunting up here on one of the mountains, and I was probably about 14, and I was sitting up on a big rock, and this figure one ridge over just showed up beside the tree, and I could tell it was not a person because I know everybody around here, and it was probably at least 8, 9 foot tall, and it just as it appeared, it just walked on through by the trees. My uncle was on the next ridge on the right, and he said he saw something too, and we was like, I don't know what it was.
Describe it to me. What exactly did you see?
It was like, I guess it was more like I said, it was like 8, 9 foot tall. Because I walked over to the tree it was standing beside, and I'm 6'4", so I knew how much taller it was than me. But like I said, it was big. You could tell. I know I've been hunting all my life, so I knew it was not a bear. It was more brown than black, and it walked sort of like human.
And it was walking away from you or sideways?
Yes, it was walking like up the ridge, but back to my left, away from me.
Hi, I'm Linda Eastburn of Linda Eastburn YouTube channel, and I have a new book out called Threshold to Encounters. It's about 40 years of research and experience with all of these wild cryptids that many of you I know have encountered yourself. You can find it on Amazon.com. So you just saw mostly the back part of it.
I seen the whole side view. I seen the side view, and then it turned and saw a sort of a quarter in a way view.
Did you see the face at all?
Just the side.
What were you thinking when you saw that? You're only 14, you're out there, you know this isn't anything you've seen before. So what were the thoughts going through your mind?
It's Bigfoot.
You knew immediately that was
I
Bigfoot.
mean, like I said, I've been researching this, like fascinated by Native history and Bigfoot. So yes, pretty much
What,
knew what it was.
what's the history in the Native American history in that area where you saw this? Do you
Well, I live in Catawba, Virginia, and actually, it's named after the Catawba Indians. So, researching through their history, they have had sightings inside this valley.
so this isn't new to them. They're
No,
historically speaking. Do you know how far back that goes? Reports of them seeing this?
as uh, I guess at least 100 years or better from what I've researched.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Do you know their philosophy about Bigfoot, what their thoughts are on it?
Well, like I said, they believe in it, and but they don't. I forget what name they don't call it Bigfoot,
Sure.
but then, uh, but they have there's caves around with drawings of Bigfoot on them. So, like I say, it was just part of their history.
Well, I don't think I've heard of caves with drawings of Bigfoot. And what is it about? Have you seen those drawings?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
They're I just heard through the legends.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. I wonder what they look like. Do you have any idea?
It just shows like a stick figure, big, tall, compared to a little person. That's what I've heard.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that Bigfoot does indeed travel through the cave systems and also lives in the cave systems.
Yes, and
What are your
see,
thoughts about that?
oh, definitely, there's lots of caves around here. We have lots of limestone, and we're right in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains. And from what I've heard and seen and read, is that Bigfoot actually follows the Appalachian Trail. They say they migrate, so it makes sense that they would come through here because the Appalachian Trail is only 2 miles down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. It would make a lot of sense. And I've heard of a lot of Bigfoot sightings along that trail.
Oh yeah, I've talked to a friend of mine, and her brother was up on what they call Dragon's Tooth, and which is part of the Appalachian Trail. And she said he was standing there, and all of a sudden this tree just got pushed over, and it startled him, and he walked down to where the tree was. He says, "No way that this tree just fell over on its own, uh, as and there was no way anything just pushed it over except something very large."
It must have been a pretty good sized tree.
Yep.
Yeah,
He says about maybe 3 foot, 4 foot around, and it was a young. It wasn't a dead tree. It had been pushed over, and the roots were exposed. It was like he said it's more like it was a warning to him that something was there.
and no storms in the area that could have done
No,
that, other
he,
damage visible.
no, he said he heard it come fly. It fall over while he was standing there.
He heard it fall over.
Yes.
Wow. So that would have been a pretty remarkable situation for
Yes.
a living tree rooted in the ground to be pushed over like that, the roots exposed.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
it'd take a pretty powerful push to make
Yes.
that happen,
Yes.
for sure. Well, have you seen any others?
My last encounter was 2 years ago over on 621 in Craig County. It was in April, so it was sort of cold outside. Me and my uncle were over there trout fishing. I had chest waders on, so it was cold out, and the Appalachian Trail crosses right maybe a half a mile from when we were fishing. And I went on one side of the creek, he was on the other side, and we got down the creek. I had to go around a fallen tree. Well, there's a little stream coming off the mountain. I walk around the tree and look down, and there's a footprint. I'm like, whoa, this just astonished me. It's like, this is April. There's nobody walking around here barefooted. I wear a size 14 shoe, and that foot was my foot and a half the size of my other foot bigger than mine. And I'm saying, well, I wear 14 and half 4. We're talking 21, 22-inch footprint here. And it was barely, you could see it really clear. It freaked me out. Unfortunately, I didn't have my phone with me because I don't carry it when I'm fishing out in the wilderness because I don't want to get broke or wet. But I was amazed. I knew exactly what I was looking at.
Yeah, exactly. Did you hear anything while you were out there or see any other evidence?
Just the footprints where it stepped in just on the other side of that little stream coming down into the mud. But you could tell it wasn't very old footprint because, like I said, I hunt. I know what deer, I know what bear looks like. So, and I can tell an old print from a new print. And this was fairly new. I say within a day of us fishing there.
Did you ever go back out there and fish?
Oh yeah,
But
I
no
never seen
signs since then?
no other signs. No,
Well, you never know where you're going to run into something Bigfoot related, that's for sure.
exactly.
So have you seen any others besides that footprint and the one that you saw going up the ridge?
Nope, that's. I've heard noises at night. I live out in the middle of, say nowhere, but I live out in the woods, isolated. But again, there's some nights you hear something howling or something. You know, it's not a coyote. You know, it's not a fox. It's something you never heard before. It almost sounds human. Sometimes it's almost like a woman screaming kind of sound. But yeah, but other than that, that's it. I've never seen any more footprints or sightings of the original.
Do you do boots on the ground research, or were they just happenstance encounters?
Just happened encounters.
But you have had some other unusual experiences in the areas where you have experienced Bigfoot, or you've heard of it, of situations where people have. Have you seen any orbs or unusual things like that?
Oh, I have pictures of some orbs of white just on my trail cams. I sent you actually pictures of a UFO on my trail cams. That, but yeah, I get orbs and all kinds of things on my trail cams.
And how long have these trail cams been out there that you've been capturing these orbs?
Well, I put them out every year, right around this time when hunts, right before hunting season. So I have them out there for about 3 to 4 months.
And you always capture orbs on them.
Something, yeah. I know a difference between a bug and an orb, so
And
I
they're
know
always
it's not
white.
a
These orbs are always white.
white or a yellowish color.
Do they seem to have any do they seem to have any kind of distinct movement, or are they just kind of
They they
floating on?
they just like they'll be there. Then the next frame they're there. Then the next you just see them. Then they're just disappearing.
They just cross over
Yeah,
the frames as you see them. Yeah. Have you seen any with your naked eye? Have you seen anything besides on the trail cam?
an orb, no.
Yes. No. Okay.
But I have seen ghosts. But that's a.
You've seen UFOs, is that what you said?
I have seen UFO and I have seen ghosts and I've seen some strange things. Really,
Well, let's talk about those. Let's start with the UFOs. I know you sent me some pictures of the UFOs, and I think that was our original
right.
conversation that we had was really on UFOs. So, tell me about the sequence of UFOs you've seen and where you were when you saw them.
All right. The first one was right here beside my house when I was like 12. I walked outside to feed my dog and turned around, looked up over the top of the house, and it was a saucer. I mean, it was just as plain as day. It wasn't very high above the house. I run in to get my mom and dad. By the time we got out there, it was gone.
Did it make any kind of a
Then I had
sound or
no, made no sound whatsoever. So I knew it was not a plane. It was just so clear.
what time of day was it?
It was uh it was probably around 7:30
In the evening?
in the evening. Uh-huh.
So that was your first one. Did it have color to it?
It had green and white
Any
light.
lights on it?
Green and like I said, green and white.
Any lights on it?
That was it. Just green and white ones.
And it was it moving or just stationary?
It was stationary when I first seen it. It was just like hovering. And when I went, like I said, I come in to get them, we come back, it was gone.
So you have no idea, yeah, what happened to it. Did you ever see any others that were like that one, the saucer shaped with green and white?
Uh, well, I have seen light, white lights above the trees, and knew that it wasn't an airplane. And it just like hovers there, then you turn around and it's gone.
Yeah, and have other people been with you when you've seen these
Oh,
things?
my granddaddy and my uncles were going to work one morning. About 2 miles down the road, they said there was a big white luminous light in the field And as they got closer, it just raised up off the ground and went right up over the mountains and gone. My grandma even said that she's seen one land up here on top of the hill behind the house.
How did she describe that?
A round silver disc.
Your parents ever see anything?
I've never heard mom or dad's talk about them.
Just your grandparents?
Just grandparents.
How about other people in the neighborhood? Anyone else that you know
Oh
of?
yeah, my good friend up the road here grew up over here. He said that him and his mom was standing there and they seen one go down behind the ridge up here when he was a kid. And he showed, I've been up to his house. He showed me where he's seen it and where it went down behind the hill in the mountain, and then it just disappeared.
Have you
But
seen
yeah,
any others?
do what now?
Have you seen any others?
Oh yeah. We were going to coming back from town, and all of a sudden this big light just right across the road. I mean, well, it wasn't in the road, but across one from one ridge to another, just right across, and just disappeared. But one of my biggest, what I guess one of the biggest things, I was in the Navy, stationed on a submarine. We were out in the middle of the ocean, cruising about 250 feet underwater. We went to battle stations because an object appeared off our bow about 50 yards. It was there, boom. We were in battle stations for about 5 minutes. Then we stopped battle stations, and I was talking. Well, actually, I seen the report that that the object appeared. Our radar sonar could not tell what it was. It was there for about 5 minutes, and then, like it appeared, it disappeared. And on the official thing, it said unidentifiable object. And this was at 250 feet under the water.
Well, they're out there, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely. And when I caught that one on the camera, that really, I mean, that light come across you can tell by it comes across the field, a beam of light coming down from it. The animals are not even afraid. I mean, you can tell they're just looking around. That light's just coming down. It moves over. Then, and the last picture, it's the raccoon and the saucer there in the picture. And it's like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, and there again, what sounds have you heard around those?
None. They make no sounds. You don't hear any sound. You just see the light.
Have you had any cattle mutilations or anything like that in the area?
No. No, I've read all about those. No, we have not any, like down in Texas, but not here.
How about any kind of contact? Have you had any kind of alien contact, not other than just the craft?
No.
Just see
No.
the
Just
craft in the lights.
Right.
Well, what else do you have to tell me?
Well, I don't know. Do you want to hear about ghosts?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about ghosts.
All right. Again, I was in the first real experience. I was stationed in Charleston, South Carolina. I lived in a apartment complex out at Monk's Corner, South Carolina. A woman had killed herself in the next apartment over. Well, she was actually having an affair with the guy who lived below me. Well, me and my wife at the time pulled into our driveway, and there was this white orb. It looked like it was about 4.5, about 5 foot tall. You could tell it was a woman. It walked from it walked right into the building, right into his apartment. And I was like, we just looked at each other and said, that is crazy. So we would sit there because they had made him move to Columbia, South Carolina. So we knew he wasn't in the apartment, but you'd hear noise. We could see his rocking chair at times on his porch start rocking. So one night we're sitting there and we heard noise downstairs. I jumped up, ran downstairs, and he was home. And I was telling him about, this is what we were seeing and hearing. He goes, well, I can't find nothing missing. It don't look like anybody broke into my house. So then I said, okay. So we're sitting there. Next thing you know, there's a knock on the door. He goes, you're not going to believe this. I go, what? He goes, I went into my bathroom and there's water on the toilet seat. He goes, there's nobody been here. I said, okay, that's strange, but nothing there. He goes, then I went to my bedroom. I rolled back my covers and there was blood on my pillow. He said, there was not blood on that pillow when I left here. I said, whoa, that is pretty freaky. Then the next time I was working at Virginia Tech, and I knew there was tales of the center being haunted. Well, my housekeeping staff was always telling me about encounters they had with ghosts. This one girl, housekeeper, had a bathroom blocked with her cart. The door, there's nobody could get in her door, and she said she heard something, and she certainly hit the wall. She turned around, opened the door, and the ink pen that she had on her cart had flown across the bathroom and hit the door beside of her. I said, well, that's pretty freaky, crazy. And the next encounter, I actually seen a shadow person. I was down in a space that we store stuff in, and I know the doors are locked. I'm the only one there, and I seen this shadow figure walk right across the next room in front of me. So I ran around to make sure there was nobody else there, because I said there's no other doors closed, no other doors open, none of my staff was nowhere near me. I was like, wow, that is crazy too. Then had a new employee come in, and we're standing in this one room, and there's a big mask that hangs on the wall. And I've been working there for 5 years, and we're standing in that room, and that mask flies off the wall in front of us. I took the mask. I was like, what in the world? I took that mask, hung it back up on the wall where it belonged. I hit the wall with my hands, trying to make it fall off. It wouldn't budge. Then the next craziest thing, my housekeeper come back to my office and said, you ain't gonna believe this. I left my vacuum cleaner sitting there, walked off, I come back, and it was running, moving across the floor. And I said, what? So we went back to the tapes. We had surveillance tapes in the building. We brought it back on the tape, and the vacuum cleaner is sitting there. All of a sudden, you see it come on and start walk its way across the floor. Nobody around it, nobody there. I was like, I don't know. So,
what do you think these ghosts are of in that facility?
Students have committed suicide in the building and everything else. Who knows? Well, you can figure that where Virginia Tech sits was the biggest massacre from the Indians. That whole place up there was one big Indian massacre back in the day. Then one of the biggest freak things that happened was I had my housekeeping manager who works for me, come into my office. She sits down, and we're sitting there. Then when my housekeepers come in, says, you got to come see this. So we get up, we walk into it's a music department. All the chairs have been stacked, not like you would stack them, but on their feet. Some of them were turned upside down, and their feet were stacked on top of the feet. It was like a pyramid. She goes, I walked through this room 5 minutes ago. These chairs were all in a row, lined up in this room. In 5 minutes, they were sitting like a pyramid. We don't know how it would happen because there's nobody else in the building but us.
Well, that is pretty remarkable.
Yes. But yeah, we have seen a lot of strange things. And on one of my trail cams, I go through the pictures, and there all of a sudden a face appears coming up from up the hill. You can see the guy's I got the picture somewhere, but you can see the guy's hat, his face, then it just disappears. And there's nobody up in these woods at night, but I know this. And it doesn't, I mean, you can almost see through the face, but you can tell the face, the hat. It's like, wow. And I've heard somebody getting killed up here back in the 70s. I mean, well, this is like 1870s. So I don't know if that could have been them or who it could have been.
Yeah, because it wasn't a real person walking around there. You didn't identify anything about the facial structure. Could you see it well enough to
Yeah,
tell?
you could see his face, like the eyes, the hat. It was crazy. Like I said, it's there and it's gone.
Well, that would be worthy of doing some exploration up there. Do you have any kind of equipment where you can measure like electromagnetic fields or anything like that?
Oh yes, I got the camera. I got a camera that you did thermal imaging camera. I have the little, it tells you magnetic energy. So yeah, I have that kind of stuff.
Have you measured anything up that way to see if there's
Nothing.
any kind of unusual phenomena that you're
No.
getting?
Nothing. So there was no, there's no electricity up there. So I don't. It was just crazy. Just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, I've
But
heard some of those situations, they can come and go, where
yes,
there's this blast of like a weird sort of electromagnetic field, and then it's just
right.
dissipates and is gone. So it would be hard to catch it if it's not
Yes,
happening at that time,
a
maybe.
constant, right. But they say limestone rock is a constant thing for ghosts that can appear in because of something to do with the limestone rock. I seen that on Ghost Hunters or something.
I've also heard that the same thing is true of UFOs, that they tend to migrate to places that have a lot of limestone.
Yes, and this whole mountain just nothing but limestone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I live in an area where there's a really strong base of limestone here as well, and there have been quite a few reports of UFO encounters here, as well as some ghost stories as well.
Right.
So do you think that Bigfoot has any kind of a connection with UFOs?
Yeah, I do. From what I've from what I've read and seen on watching documents on TV and stuff, that somehow they're connected. Some people say they see a Bigfoot, then all of a sudden they'll see a UFO, and they seem like they travel in the same vicinities.
It does seem like that they are in similar places.
Yes.
That and some reports of an actual connection between them where they see them somewhat interacting.
Yes.
From what I understand.
Right. Exactly.
And of course, the Native American cultures generally have some kind of an understanding of the star people.
Yes. Well, you figure even in the Egyptian pyramids, they have pictures of spaceships and people in like space suits written on drawn on the walls.
Well, I really appreciate your joining me today and giving me all this information. You have had a wealth of experience, I'll tell you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to go ahead and end our interview today, but I'll use those pictures that you sent me for sure. And I thank you for reaching out, getting in contact with me and doing the interview today.
Well, thank you very much. It was very nice meeting you.
You as well. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and end now.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Dale Lyons, and I own and operate the page Squatchville, the Bigfoot Amphitheater. I'm a researcher for the past 10 years who went through some very unusual experiences to bring me to this point in time. I have a lot of work over the past 10 years that is bizarre yet truly mesmerizing. And I've experienced beings, life form in the past 10 years after going through what I'm about to tell you. They've just started showing up around me, and they're a constant part of my life anymore. I work with all kinds of beings. I worked with aliens. I worked with the Sasquatch. I worked with giants. And I know that sounds like, what? You're crazy, right? No, it's not. And this is the story I'm about to tell you, okay? And this is true as it could be. All right, I'll take a lie detector test, truth serum. I'll go to regression, anything to verify my accounts of this page. Everything on my page, Squatchville, the Bigfoot Amphitheater, is a nonfiction page, and it's dedicated to the conservation of Mother Earth. That is the reason I bring photographic images of these life form in different ways that they dictate. And with that, I'll begin this story of how it began for me back in 2014. I was one of the founding members of a group back then, and it still exists today, Bigfoot Community. Sadly, we lost the main founder, Susie Matthias, not long ago, and she passed away. And so I want to kind of bring her into this and remember her about, through this also. So we all gather. We form this group, Bigfoot Community, and the founders and I, we meet up in Willow Creek, California, to just to go down there and have a good time, try to experience some Sasquatch if we're lucky. I don't know anything about Bigfoot at this time. Nothing. They're nothing more than what I have seen on the Patterson Gimlin footage, and that's all I know. So we're there. We stay in the night. Next morning, we take off in a van and we head to the coast. And there's this rock shop on the coast there in along the highway of where you're heading to the Redwood Forest, land of the giants. And there we stop at this rock shop and we're checking out all this stuff. And I stop at this slab of wood. And I sent you a picture of it, Linda. And it's just a very peculiar slab of wood, and it looks like it has a Sasquatch on it, and I'm just infatuated with this, and it is just mesmerizing to me. So I take a picture of it, not thinking anything of it, and just go about the day. That night, we're all gathered around, and this fella is showing me some stuff that he has on Sasquatch. And And I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, that is really strange stuff. And I look at this lady who is also there with this Arla. And I'm like, is this true? And she looks at me and she's like, yeah. And there's something in that moment. Just I knew it was. I was like, this is something. This is different than anything I ever imagined. And it was just bizarre what I was seeing, and too too bizarre to even explain. So, anyways, I leave and go home, and the about a week later, we go up on top of Willamette Pass in Oregon, and I go up there with a buddy. We take our bikes up there, and we're staying with this family. They have a family reunion going on up there, and I go up there. I think it's the name of it's Crystal Lake or something like that. I can't remember. It's been a while now, but it's up there on top of Willamette Pass, and that night, I get out on my bike and I'm looking for a place to or that day rather, I go out and I'm looking for a place to go squatching that night, to go do a night investigation, and I come to this place and it looks pretty interesting to me. I go back to the camp and I'm like, hey guys, I found this. Let's go check it out. So that night, about 10 o'clock, we go over to this area I found, and there's this like a ditch area, a ravine with a post sticking up to, it's a reflective sign type, reflective post. And my buddy just blasts through the ditch and runs right over the top of this. And we bowled into this little area and come to a stop. We get out and we all gather around on the side of the pickup. And just then we hear this, "Rrr." Like, what? We're looking at each other and we're like, what the heck, man? Looking out and we're panning around with the flashlight. Can't see anything. So we go back to talking and again, "Rrr." Just like that, and I'm like, man, that is a weird, weird growl. I've never heard a creature like that. And so we go back to doing what we're doing. My buddy picks up this big lodge post, pine that's broke in half, and he picks it up and bangs it against it. All dead tree. Again, we hear this. We go up, we hike up along this thing, and it happens a couple more times. And then we hear this, and we decide, oh, okay, we're going to go back. This is just too weird, man. And whatever it is isn't attacking us, and yet we can't see it anywhere either. We're peering out with the flashlights. We can't see nothing, and it's not that far away. It's got to be within like 50 feet, it seems. But we see nothing. So we go back to the truck, and we're like, man, that is just weird, And we go back. The next day I go home, and I come back. I just can't get it out of my mind, what we had experienced there. So I get back in my car. It's close to 100 miles from where I live to get up to the top of the pass here. And when I get up there to the area, I get out and there's all these footprints all over the place. I'm like, whoa. And the substrate of the ground is kind of like burnt, uh, charred ground, and it's loose. There's footprints in it that have collapsed. They're not perfect, but they're obviously footprints, and they're all just everywhere. I'm like, whoa, I'm just blown away by this. That's what we were experiencing that night, was a Sasquatch. And I thought as much, because I had never, ever heard a growl like that from any other. It sounded human. It sounded just like me going, "Urgh." That's what it sounded like. And it sounded like we were irritating a human. And so I'm finding all these footprints, and I got pictures of this and stuff, and I over the course of the rest of the summer, I make my way back and forth up there, and when on that day that I found all the footprints, I go hiking up into the tree line. And I'm standing in the tree line there, and I think I find this hair that's hanging from this branch, and I'm like, whoa, So I get it, and I try to get it in a fashion where I'm not messing, where it can be tested okay and everything. Put in this bag and put it in my pocket, and as I'm turning to leave and go back down, all of a sudden I hear this stomp, two stomp right behind me, like right behind me, and it is so close that I can feel it in my chest, and I turned, gasp, and I turned, and there's nothing there. Nothing there. But something just made that. I'm kind of nervous, and I go back to the car. I go home, and I can't get it out of my mind. I make my way back up there a couple of times during the summer. And on the last time I'm up there, I just, as I was leaving, I let them know that I really enjoyed being able to experience them and learn about them as much as I could. And I got into my pocket, and I had a handful of quarters, and I took them, and I started, I said, here's a gift from me to you. And I started putting these quarters on different stumps and rocks staggered around the area for them. And with that, I go home. So I'm again, I'm one of the admin of Bigfoot community, and there's a lot of upheaval going on. And this hoaxer, I'll just say RD, who Bigfoot community was in part responsible for bringing his shenanigans to an end. Yeah, and I'm proud to say that, because I was right there during it all. And it was good to see him come to an end. Yeah, because he was really, really bringing a lot of upheaval to the Bigfoot world. And for those who know those Uh, his I'm not going to say his name, but his initials are RD, and he is very just a hoaxer. Bad news for the Bigfoot community in general. Anyways, we don't hear much of him anymore. And so I'm thinking to myself in that moment, there's all this arguing going on between people, whether it's true or not. And I'm thinking, gosh, I wonder if Bigfoot is of Satan. And in that moment, just then, I feel this boom to my head. No, a very loud, resounding no. And like you put your hand in front of a very loud bass speaker. That's what it felt like against my head. And a very resounding no. I was like, whoa, what the heck, man? What the heck was that, And so, I couldn't help but be moved by it. It was very powerful. It was a paranormal experience that was very physical, and I could feel every bit of it and hear the very resounding no, a very loud no of like many, many individuals just saying it all at once or something. Very powerful. So I go through the day and and into the rest of the fall. I go to the Yakima Bigfoot conference they have there. And it was a pretty good time. Got to meet some people and stuff, and that was cool. And then that come the turn of the year, President's Day. I've been thinking about where I'm going to find me a new squatching spot. And we're sitting there at breakfast, my granddaughter and wife and I, and ex-wife now, and she's like, I want to go to the jungle. And she's like 2 years old, So we're like, yeah, let's go, And I'm dying to go to the woods anyway, So we set out. We head out to this area in the Willamette National Forest above Fall Creek. And in this area, a little area above Winberry. And we go up, and there's this little turnoff up there that's gated off. We pull up to it, and we walk inside the gate. It's not posted or anything. So we just walk inside it, and they walk down to this little stream. And I decide to walk on up this road a ways. It's quite a climb up this road, and I'm out of shape, and I'm walking up it, and I walk to the top of this landing, and again I find all these freaking footprints. I'm like, whoa. And there's all these weird anomalies. Like I sent you this picture of this jawbone that's intricately tied together in these sticks. It had to be done with fingers. Whatever did that had to do it with fingers. It's the only way that could happen. And I'm seeing all this stuff. I take some pictures, not, around while I'm going up there. And I see enough evidence there that I'm like, hey, I think this is a good place for a night investigation, So we so I go back down, gather up my granddaughter and ex, and we head home. For the next week, I try to find somebody that'll go do a night investigation with me. And finally, my second oldest stepson and his fiance decided they'd go with me. And this is the Sunday following President's Day. Excuse me. This is the Sunday following President's Day. They say they'll go with me, and so the sun has set. It's about 8:30 or so, and it takes us a little while to walk up to the top of this landing. And we get up there, and no sooner than we get up there than this strange yellowish light that's not so far above us goes over our heads very slowly. Just goes over our head. It's just a yellowish light. It doesn't have any blinking lights, makes no sound, nothing. And it just goes and disappears beyond the tree line and out of sight. I'm like, wow, that was pretty weird, And remember, it was interesting because we could actually see the airliners above it, way up above it, as it's going across the sky. And so it was fairly close, whatever it was. So we're sitting there checking it out. And I pull out. Yeah, I'm a brand new researcher. Okay, I get this new equipment. I got this brand new little night vision scope, and I'm peeping through it. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Check this out. And I don't know, for some reason, it looks a little weird, but I don't know anything about it. And so I hand it to my son, and he just got out of the military and came home from the military. He's like, yeah, I don't know, it don't look right, And he hands it back to me. I'm like, And I hand it back to him. He's like, look, man, the freaking light, the cap is on, man. So it's just little peephole that we're peering through. And we take off the cap. We're like, oh, hey, there we go. Yeah. It was moronic. I feel so stupid. And so, anyways, we decide to go up, start moving in towards the tree line. And we're walking up there. I'm out of shape. I'm wheezing, I'm huffing and puffing. But when we get up to this to the tree line there, all of a sudden I hear what I think is a whoop. And I'm like, stop. Hey, did you guys hear that? They're like, hear what? And I said, did you hear a whoop? They're like, no, I didn't hear anything. And I just discounted it as me wheezing from being out of shape. So we go up a little further and nothing's going on. And I see this huge boulder sticking out of the ground. And I find this stone and I crack it against that big rock 3 times. And we just stood there and listened and nothing. And we started walking, and all of a sudden we hear this Woo! And it was the sound of a female, like a teenage Sasquatch, a female teenage Sasquatch that did that. A long, sustained whoop with a very pronounced at the end, T at the end. And we're like, whoa, and like, what the heck? We're looking at each other, I'm like, Nicole, why don't you try to do that yourself back? Man, so she hits it. She does her very first whoop ever, and she nails it. And no sooner than she does that than the forest came undone. Whoop, whoop, smashing, foliage smashing under feet all around us. And these Sasquatch are closing in around us from all around us, and we're like, whoa, whoa, whoop, whoop. And they're coming in closer, like they're intrigued with us, and I'm peering out with the light. Again, I can't see anything. We can't see crap. There's nothing there, but it's right there, and just no sooner than that happens, then all of a sudden we feel this boom, 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 right next to us, right freaking next to us. Something bigger, something more than 1,000 pounds, maybe a couple thousand pounds, stomping on the ground, boom, 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 right beside us. And we're like, whoa, what the heck? But we can't see anything. I'm trying to put, so I get out my phone. I'd just gotten this therm FLIR device for it, and I'm turning it on. I'm trying to get it on. It's not cooperating. I'm looking at it. I can't get it to come on. The freaking battery bar on it is going down. No sooner than that happens, then my son's phone indicates that it's dying in his pocket, where it's a brand new phone and he just took it off the charger. All of this going dead. We're like, whoa, I can't get the freaking thing to work on my phone, this thermal device. And so we decide, well, let's try to build a fire. So we start gathering up stuff around, but it's just too soft, it's too moist, still too, it's winter. It's, we're talking about a week after President's Day. So we start hearing this whistling from one side of us, and then the same thing on the other side of us. And it's starting to happen, and we're in between it, looking back and forth as it's going on. We're like, yeah, we can't get the fire going on. And Nicole's like, you guys, I'm getting cold. Well, let's go. It's after 10 at that point, and we go, we make our way back down. I kind of hold back because what we just experienced is so freaking intense. And, and while it was tremendously intimidating, we never felt like we were in imminent danger. I never felt like we were going to be attacked. So we make our way back, and I stay back, and we get in the Jeep, and we just stay there and sit there in silence, looking down, not saying anything to each other, just sitting there in silence for probably 45 minutes. And I come to, and I'm like, geez, what a trip, man. They're like, yeah, right? Whoa. And so I start the Jeep, and we go home. 2 days later, I'm thinking, man, I got to get back up there. So I take some casting material, some apples, and I head back up to this landing where we stood and saw the yellow light go across. So as I'm making my way up there, I have on these video sunglasses that I got, and I have this new that orange Nokia phone that was the first of phones to be enhanced with more than just 1 megapixel. It had like 4. And the zoom capability and everything was better, and blah blah. Anyway, that's what I had in my arsenal. And I'm heading up. I make this bend in the road, and I'm looking across this clearing, and I keep seeing something over there, and something is moving. I'm certain I'm picking all of this up with my video sunglasses, and I'm like, and I'm assuming that it's working correctly. It's not. The lens is pointed up at the sky, so it never really captures anything, just my voice. But in that time, while I'm making this observation of something across this clearing moving, I do stop and take some pictures. Now, somebody, said during that time, don't ever zoom in your pictures. The picture quality will be better if you don't zoom it in. But this was at such, and so I didn't. But this was at such a distance that it beckoned it for me to do that, and I just didn't, But I took some pictures, and it was, there's enough there to say that's a Sasquatch over there pacing back and forth. And I don't know it at the time, but there's also a giant just off to the side of him that's looking through the trees at me. And so I'm making my way up this road. I'm taking these pictures. I'm thinking I have it on my video sunglasses. I get to the top of this landing, and I set my stuff down on this stump, and all of a sudden I hear this caw, 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 like a 500-pound crow just caught at me from across this ravine, and I could feel it just penetrate my chest. I could feel the force of it come across the ravine and kind of hit me. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty big crow. And then it happened again, just like 50 feet down from it. Another one, caw, caw, caw. And then another one down below it, caw, caw. And I'm like, whoa. And then down by my car, caw, and across the river. And Ka! And up the side of the other mountain, Ka! And it works all these crows up into a frenzy, and they all spring from the roost that they are sitting and spring into the air. And there's like, it's like a scene out of Alfred Hitchcock or something. And there's like hundreds, literally hundreds of crows flying up above me. And I'm like, what in the heck, man? I have my vape and I'm just like in bewilderment looking up at this, like, what in the hell? Yeah. So I am just floored, man, and a little nervous by all this. But there's these footprints that I had seen, and I brought my casting material, and so I nervously go to making up this material, which I did not do a very good job mixing it and stuff in this bag. It was my first one, so yeah. And again, this was back in 2014, 2015 now that this is happening. And so I get this casting material, and I'm casting these footprints of this adult size one, and then one of this juvenile size that's in this little runoff ditch. It's inside this ditch in the mud, and I cast this, and there's some huge what I think are cougar prints or something. So I cast those also, and as I'm casting this last cougar print, something behind me, like right, hits me with this sound, this, and it sounded like when you put your, as a kid, when we put our playing cards on our bikes to go through the spokes, that's what it sounded like. And it hit me, and whatever it was that did it was not very far away, but it startled me. And I gasped and kind of went back in defense. And but there was nothing there. By this time, I'm really nervous, and I go to gather up my stuff. I just leave I gather up the footprints. I leave some of the what are the cougar prints or whatever I are, and I leave them. And and as I'm getting ready to leave, something from quite a distance went boom, boom, bluff charged me, and it was so huge that it jolted me off from the ground. And I'm a heavy guy at this time. Okay. And it's, I'm like, well, I started to run, and I realized there is no point in running. I cannot outrun whatever this is. I cannot see it. But I just stop. I turn around. I'm like, man, you are one big boy. And with that, it stopped. I went back down to my car with no issues. I went home. 2 days later, I go back up there, and as I'm making my way up this road, and I pass this little thing of logs that are sitting there, and there's this rock sitting on the end of this log. I'm like, for whatever reason, I look at it, and I see it has some really interesting markings on it, you know. And to me, it looks like it has some crow heads on it, some a bird in flight, a crow head, and then a Sasquatch, and it has these little dots in the rock that go from the crow's eyes over to the Sasquatch. And I'm looking, I'm like, wow, thank you. I don't know, maybe I was hearing some, I don't know. But I could have swore I heard, "You're welcome," you know. I could have swore I heard that, you know. And so I go back up there, and that kind of when I picked up that rock, I had gone through a test of theirs. I followed the links, I followed the cues, I did everything that I was supposed to do, I guess. And when I picked up that rock, all these interdimensional beings started making their presence known to me in different ways, either showing up, I mean, visually right in front of me, in my pictures. And I have a lot of pictures. I probably have more pictures of Sasquatch than maybe anybody, you know. And yes, they are peculiar to look at, you know. You're like, you know, everybody wants to say, well, how come it's not standing out there in the plain to be seen, you know, like Patty is? Well, let me explain something about Patty. That was a very unusual circumstance for where she was filmed right there. Had she been in the shadows, had she been further up in the trees, anywhere else, where she was not obviously out in that bed, that rock bed, that little creek bed, whatever it was that she was walking up, you would never have seen her.
That's true, Dale. I 100% agree with you. I'm going
to
cryptic
camouflage.
Yeah, true.
I'm
going to have to go ahead and end our interview now, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I really seriously appreciate you sharing the richness of the story that you have given us. You've had a phenomenal amount of contact and sightings, and even got visuals, and thank you for sending the pictures to me as well. I'll let you know when this comes out, okay?
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. And again, I just want to say that Squatchville, the Bigfoot Amphitheater, is a nonfiction page dedicated to bringing life form to observation for the purpose of conservation of Mother Earth. It's a nonfiction page, and it deserves your attention, everybody's.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for having me on.
Okay, thanks for the story. Thanks. Bye-bye.